All right, if you could start off by introducing yourself, tell us who you are and what you do here at Joshua Tree National Park.
All right, my name's Carey Goldstein. I'm a park ranger. I work for the Interpretive Division of the National Park Service.
Okay.
Do you know what the Interpretive Division does?
I assume it's about education.
We interpret stuff. We interpret natural and cultural resources for the public, so it is education-based.
Okay.
We also create like guided walks and programs. We do nighttime programs as well. We do public outreach, and you'll also see some visitor centers answering questions and roaming in the park and just talking to people doing what we call informal interpretation.
Okay, great. Can you tell us a little bit about the geology here?
The geology of Joshua Tree National Park is kind of interesting. This is a good park. I'd say it's a good beginner geology park,
Okay.
since they're basically just two kinds of rocks here. We have the Pinto gneiss, which basically it's the dark colored stuff up on the ridges.
Okay.
So that's the more ancient rock that's possibly 1.5 billion years old. Everything else here is Monzo granite, which is much younger, maybe in the hundreds of millions of years old. And all the Monzo granite formed as plutons, big kind of bulbs, underneath the gneiss. The Monzo granite was never exposed until after a lot of the gneiss eroded away over extremely long amounts of time. So you'll mostly see the big groups of Monzo granite rocks in areas of the park that are in kind of valley areas. You'll see that as you go up into the park. And so that's pretty much what you're seeing. The granite, of course, is weathered from weather and also the mechanical weathering into really kind of unique shapes and forms. Some of the rocks have names because Skull Rock, for instance, and Arch Rock. Some of them look like flowers or faces. So some of the rocks do have names, and of course climbers have named thousands of individual rocks throughout the park. Some of which we recognize and know about, and others are just people call and say, "Where's Gordy's thumb?" or something like that. I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know where that is? Like, there are thousands of rocks with names, but big ones like Skull Rock actually have a sign on the front, and you see that from the road. That's a popular place to stop. There are also intrusions, dikes in the rocks. When the Monzo granite cooled, while it was still underneath the ground, cracks formed, and then other liquefied molten rock actually came and filled those gaps. Those rocks usually are of a finer grain. So as the Monzo granite weathered, sometimes the dikes are a little more pronounced now, and you'll actually see them like sticking out. On some of the trails in the park, you'll see that the trail crews at one point used pieces of those intrusions as to line the trail, since that's kind of a sturdier, finer grained rock. The other thing that's happening here, there are hundreds of faults, active earthquake faults in the park, mostly auxiliaries of the San Andreas Fault. And it's in those fault areas that deep underneath the ground, because of that faulting and rocks grinding and blocking, it's created places where it's basically blocking the natural aquifers or natural underground waterways and causing that water to come up to the surface. That's why we see the Oasis of Mara here, because there's a fault that goes right through here. So it's actually forcing that groundwater to the surface. At one point, this would have been a much wetter area, even basically a desert swamp at one point, with lots more trees and an Indian village and then houses and other things. All those things are gone. There's evidence of human occupation here still. And the trees remain and the animals remain also that depend on it. So something that's unique here that ties geology to cultural history and also to the flora and fauna is that geology has an effect on water, which has an effect on plants and has an effect on animals and people. Because that's what attracted the first people here hundreds or even thousands of years ago.
So what kind of plants and animals do you have here that are unique to the area?
That are unique to the area? Well, we do have the desert tortoise, federally threatened species. That's something that's fairly unique. Most visitors who come to this park have never seen one. I'm usually lucky and see at least a few in the summer.
Yeah.
I've been back on duty for 2 months, and I've seen one in this park, and I've seen 2 at Mojave Natural Preserve.
Wow.
A number of different kinds of birds, I believe 250 species of birds.
Wow.
More snakes than you're likely to see anywhere else. There are 33 species of snakes in California, and we've seen 26 of those here in this park.
Wow.
Including 6 types of rattlesnakes, and a number of lizards. The largest lizard in the state, the chuckwalla, lives here. Mass-wise, they're not very long, but they're pretty fat. Also, the desert iguanas live here in the park. For larger mammals, the one that people see the most frequently would, I'd say, be coyotes, and then bighorn sheep. And the top of the food chain is the mountain lion. We've had a number of visitors see bighorn sheep today. Barker Dam has a little bit of water at it. This time of the summer, and especially since we're in drought conditions, it causes a lot of stress on the animals and forces them to be closer to water sources. And so Barker Dam's a good bet.
Are there things that you feel like visitors to the park might miss? Are there things that most people don't see? Maybe they're out of the way. Things that you find interesting?
I guess kind of. Luckily, a short trail like that, which is, we get a lot of visitors who come in and say, I have 2 hours, what can I do? Which isn't very much time. Or I have 1 hour.
Right.
Drive in and drive back out.
Yeah.
That one, Barker Dam, that's the one I recommend when they say they only want to do 1 short walk. Or the people they're with don't want to get out of the car. Or something like that. Which is, my heart kind of sinks when someone says they don't want to get out of the car.
Yeah.
You just traveled, to this amazing national park. And you can see some things out of your window, but are you really going to be able to see the plants? The desert, a lot of the things are small here.
Yeah.
A lot of the people dismiss deserts. They say there's nothing here, but it's empty. And sometimes it really takes just going for that short walk or just sitting down for a few minutes for you to really start to notice the things.
Right.
The animals are not going to come up to your car and say hi. It's sometimes when I'm out hiking and I stop and tie my shoes, I look up and then I see the bighorn slowly coming out onto the rock. Or I see that snake that I've never seen before coming out.
So are invasive plants an issue here in Joshua Tree at all? Or?
They are. Yeah, there are a few kinds of invasive plants here. Maybe not as bad as other parks, but the problem in desert parks is one that I can speak about in particular, red brome, kind of looks like wheat. Those desert plants naturally are kind of growing in clumps, and that's a good thing because then they don't compete too much with each other.
Right.
Also, we naturally have lightning in the summertime, not today, and that causes fires. And so by them being in clumps, it prevents fire from spreading.
Right.
So something invasive like red brome or cheatgrass fills in those gaps sometimes. I don't see any right here that I can point out.
Yeah.
But that causes fires to spread
Right.
and cause damage to things like Joshua trees, which don't grow anywhere else.
Yeah.
So invasives are a problem in that way, and in general, in this park and in most others, if they can be removed, we try to get rid of them. You've probably already read that there's been some concern for years with climate change on the Joshua tree, for instance.
Right.
The climate is changing so rapidly, it is putting a lot of stress on plants and animals in the park. This is one of the driest years on record. It might be the driest year on record, I'm not sure about that. Like I said, we've had, at this station, we've had 0.90 inches of rain this year.
Wow.
So almost 7 months into the year.
And what's average?
The average the last few years has been at least a few inches,
Yeah.
2 to 3 inches. If we went back 100 years, it was almost 5 times that.
Wow.
So there were cattle grazing here.
Yeah.
What are they going to eat now?
Right.
Nothing. They were eating native grasses.
Right.
In the Morongo Valley that you drove up if you came up Highway 62, there were pronghorn antelope, like huge herds of them,
Wow.
were described by people who lived in this area.
Yeah.
I've never seen one of those animals.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Southern California. Antelope Valley, LA is
Yeah.
named after them. I've never seen one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just climate change is having a negative impact on the resources in the park.
It might be one of the plants on my list, and if it is, then I need to cross it out.
Desert salmon.
Then I'll have that on the list. It's a chakra.
You think so? Yeah, I know. I thought maybe it was a kangaroo.
He's got little legs. He runs like a kangaroo. Here. Runs about like a kangaroo. Yes, it's a jackrabbit. I finally got a jackrabbit. Sure did. That's so cool. It looks like a fox from the back. He looks like a deer. Yeah. He's got so long legs. At first I thought Daddy saw his leg.
Good eye, Evan.
I can't see him because these don't
That's okay.
look through them. They don't.
Look from here. Do you see him? No, don't sit on it. Here, I'm not balanced like this. You gotta stand up. You see the very top.
No. Well, I can't see it.
You can see the older one. Did you not see it?
Well, there's two older ones. I see another one from here.
I can't. It'll try to focus on it. Hey, follow me. I've got a whole bunch of bugs.
Jeez, he's so fast.
There's another Stiller's jay over there.
I was just trying to catch a bat, but
Yeah, I know.
if they'd sit still.
I could probably get a video though. A video.
Daddy's
though.
probably doing better than me.
What?
I can't zoom in on them.
Here, let me try. I got the bat last time when we saw you putting down it in the river.
No, you didn't. I was the one that got
Oh, yes, I did. By golly, I did. I definitely took that picture.
No, in Death Valley, Mommy was
Not
the one
Death
who
Valley.
saw them.
Not in Death Valley.
Wait, today?
No.
Hush.
I'll never get zoomed in on one.